Well, welcome back to News 9 at 9. Every Thursday, we are going in depth with Oklahoma City Police Chief Wade Gourley.
6 Oklahoma City police officers will be returning to the force after Oklahoma County District Attorney Vicki Behenna dropped charges against the officers in the case of 2 deadly shootings. Our Lisa Monahan is chatting with the chief about that process and what comes next.
Each and every week, we chat with Oklahoma City Police Chief Wade Gourley to talk about issues facing our city. Of course, this week, we're talking about District Attorney Vicki Behenna's decision to drop the charges against 6 of your officers involved in deadly shootings. What was it like on your end of the process?
So, you know, for us, it's been a lengthy process. All of these shootings happened about 2.5 years ago in both cases. And so for us, it's just been the process of waiting and allowing the district attorney to make their decision. And then also, too, in the middle of this, you had a change. We had an election and a new district attorney elected. So it was just kind of, you know, a wait-and-see approach for us.
And were you able to meet with District Attorney Behenna before she made her announcement?
I was. Actually, I met with First Assistant Michael Fry. They came over and met with me and Chief Landon in my office at 11 o'clock prior to the news conference and advised us of what was going to occur. But that was the first we knew you know, we knew there was going to be a press conference, but that was the first we knew of what the decision would be.
Did you know at all that the DA was getting an expert opinion to help evaluate the situation, to know what to do with these charges?
I didn't. I mean, you know, there's a lot of rumors and things that go out, but they did a really good job of keeping this very quiet so that they could have that time to evaluate and assess the situation. And so I think I said before, the first time I knew of this individual being involved, I didn't even know who he was and had to, you know, look on the internet to see some things about him.
And we know that District Attorney Behenna has been district attorney for less than a year. How does her approach differ from past district attorneys?
I think her approach is very similar in that, you know, you have to follow the law. So those kind of things have been very similar. Our lines of communication have been very good. As soon as she was elected, I communicate with her and her first assistant regularly on, you know, major things that we may be working on. But I think one of the things that's going to be different moving forward, she mentioned in her press conference that these deadly officer-involved shootings in the future will go before a grand jury. So that's new, at least to me, in my tenure as police chief. So we'll have to kind of navigate through that, and we'll have some meetings with their office to better understand how that process is going to go, because we want to make sure we're doing our investigations appropriately and they have what they need to take that before a grand jury.
Are there any immediate concerns with it going before a grand jury?
There's not. Fortunately, Oklahoma City is a major city, and so I meet with other major city chiefs regularly, about 4 or 5 times a year. And there are other agencies that do this, and so I've been reaching out and talking to some of them. And I mean, it's just, to me, it's a good process to have. It adds another layer of transparency to it, and also too, you know, there's always a push to make sure these are reviewed outside of just the department or just the district attorney's office. And I think this gives a little bit, again, a better opportunity for the community to see that there's multi-layers to these.
Absolutely. And if you missed the press conference that you held on Monday, the chief discussed a lot about return to duty protocol and how it takes an officer's mental health into account. Can you discuss a little bit the weight that it is on an officer when they have to pull the trigger and they end up killing someone in the line of duty?
Sure, I've answered this question, you know, several times, and it's hard to explain. But when you go out to these scenes and you see, you can see the trauma, you know, in their faces. They've just done something that they hoped they would never have to do, and they don't want to be in that position. I think Hollywood kind of, you know, glamorizes a little bit the officer-involved shooting process, and what you see in movies and TVs is not how it goes at all. So it's a very traumatic experience, and if you think about it, you know, it impacts the officers, it impacts their families, it impacts, you know, the individual, obviously, that was involved in that shooting, and then the families of them as well. And so all of that together, and then you factor in the community side of that too. So our hope is we don't have any of them. You know, we try very hard to avoid them. But it's just not like what you see on TV, and I think a lot of people have that that view of, you know, this is just a day at the office and these officers do this and it's no big deal, and it's not. It's a traumatic experience for everyone involved.
None of them want to take a life. I'm sure you've had the opportunity to speak with those 6 officers that we're talking about. Do they want to return to work?
You know, right now they do, but how that's going to look, we're just not sure. We're going to, you know, allow them time to go through our return to duty protocol. I explained a little bit about that in the press conference that we did, but it starts with, you know, making sure that they visited with a mental health counselor, that our wellness team that is prepared for them to do that, and then it's just baby steps in getting back. They'll have to go through all of the training that they've missed over the last 2.5 years. They'll have to, you know, complete some reality-based training, scenario-based training. They'll have to do quite a bit of that to make sure that they're able to function under a stressful situation and all of those things, and just getting back into it. And I mean, it's going to be up to them. Right now, they've all said they're going to participate in that process. We'll see if any of them decide, you know, something different later on, but it's our job to try and walk them through that. And it's as much as it's important for those officers, it's important for the community too, because we want to make sure if they're out responding to a call or any other incident, that they're not going to have an issue dealing with that situation. We want them to be able to safely bring that to a conclusion. So we're going to make sure that they're prepared before, in whatever role they go into in the police department. It may be a role back in patrol, but it may be something where they're off the streets. We'll just have to kind of play that as we go.
Okay, we'll be following that process. We appreciate your insight this morning. I'm sure the community probably has a lot of questions about this particular topic, so you can send the chief a question by emailing chatwiththechief@griffin.news, and we'll get you some answers. See you next week.